explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like the cat with the laser pointer. It's like you've led the cat up to the top of the building, and now you're leading it over to the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like overcapitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well organized and well funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily. Today is Ash Wednesday. That's what we've now dubbed Wednesdays. Yep, Ash Wednesday.
I don't like it.
No, I do.
Too religious.
It doesn't matter.
I feel like it'll offend people.
You think?
Since when do I care about offending people? I know. Yeah. No. Hi. How you doing?
Oh, you see, Sammy's all there. Ash Wednesday it is. Ash Wednesday it is. Mega Keys girl thought it actually was Ash Wednesday.
No, you didn't miss it.
No.
It's what, March, April?
No, it's gonna be this year. Yeah, it's probably like late March this year. That's a good question.
Check it. I got you.
Then it will actually be Ash Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. And we will not be blasphemous at all, I promise.
I don't think Jesus said, "Hey, make today Ash Wednesday."
Whoa!
What?
February 18th.
Oh, so it's next week.
It's next Wednesday. Wow. Okay. Right.
Okay. So, anyways, welcome to the show. We're off to a great start.
I guess that makes sense, right? Because it's 40 days before Easter. So. Yeah, I was thinking when is Easter when I said March, April, but
so Easter's going to be early in April this year. Man, Easter's one of those holidays that like it just can be whenever they so choose. Like sometimes it's the first week of April. I've seen it as in March.
April 5th.
I think I've even seen Easter in May. Have we ever had?
I remember it being like the last day of April once. I'm not sure I remember it being May, but it could have been. But it will be April 5th this year.
Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, before we jump into the news today, please, first and foremost, smash that thumbs up if you have not done so yet. And let's go ahead and talk about our sponsor here. If I can get my stuff together. There we go.
The following ad is rated M for mature. Soft Disclosure wants you to get naked this Valentine's Day with limited edition his and her bundles that save you 20% off the individual retail prices. Proprietary oil infusions, grass-finished beef tallow, goat's milk from American goats, locally grown herbs and ingredients. Soft Disclosure is putting America First fruits on your skin.
And for these sexy bundles, we've added an all-new boar's haired beard brush and a solid jade gua sha. And the reason I'm here is because Alpha doesn't know how to say these words.
Gusha. His, hers. We need a moment to calm down. Don't hide your skin. Disclose it. Get naked this Valentine's Day with Soft Disclosure. Head over to softdisclosure.com and save 20% off individual retail prices with our his and hers customizable bundles, and use promo code NAKED to save 15% off the rest of the site. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Promo code does not apply to bundle discounts.
All right.
About that ad, I love the sped up words at the end, like a car commercial. That was fun. This is the gusha. I always show the beard brush, so I thought I'd show the gusha, which is what we call it. because I can't call it its appropriate name anymore. It's like when my kids would say something, like I'm pretty sure by Joshua used to say Valentine's, and for a couple of years that's what we called it.
I used to say Canoconut and Biscotti.
Canoconut is awesome. I said whimper wipers for windshield wipers.
All right, let's jump into the show, ladies and gentlemen. CBS News: Judge rejects Trump administration's effort to obtain Michigan voter data. Shocker. This is like the third state now that's done this. They're all kind of piggybacking off each other. U.S. District Judge Hala Jarbu. Do we not have judges? Like, why does it seem like all of the judges...
Our founding family names? No?
Yeah, like... I mean, that's one of the most crazy things to me is like all the names now are like these. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. But anyways, he's actually he or she, I don't even know, is actually a Trump appointee. Jarbu is a Trump appointee. But he granted a request from Michigan officials to dismiss the lawsuit from the Justice Department seeking voter registration data from the state, finding that federal voting laws do not require the records to be disclosed. Judges in Oregon and California have also rejected the attempt to force these states to hand over their rolls. The Justice Department sought an electronic copy of the rolls, including full names, birth dates, addresses, and either driver's license numbers or partial social security numbers, of which the federal government issues to you. So they already have them? Kind of strange. Jarbu found that 3 federal laws, the Help America Vote Act, the National Voter Registration Act, and the Civil Rights Act, do not allow the U.S. to obtain the voting records. She also warned that interpreting the NVRA to require the disclosure of private information submitted for voter registration, quote, would potentially cause the statute to impose an unconstitutional burden on the right to vote guaranteed by the First Amendment.
I'm sorry, the what now? The right to what?
It would potentially cause the statute to impose an unconstitutional burden on the right to vote, guaranteed by the First Amendment, which I do not see anywhere in the First Amendment, the right to vote.
So is this judge going to overturn Totenberg too? Because we don't have a right to vote.
You do not have a right to vote.
Yeah.
There is no right to vote
common myth
in the Constitution. I've said that so many times, and I get so much shit every time I say it. You do not have a right to vote in the Constitution.
Yeah, and that came out in that Kansas Supreme Court case that we covered, I don't know, like 18 months ago. The one where in the justice that was dissenting talks about signature verification being a poll tax, and it's pretty outrageous. But that case the headlines on that case, the mainstream legacy media headlines on that case were, oh my gosh, Kansas says they don't have a right to vote. And that is actually true. And the behind that, if you kind of, put a pin in your emotional reaction to it and consider what they're actually saying, a lot of the government positions that are technically, that are your representation, right? These people are going and they're doing a job on behalf of the people. They're appointed positions. They're, in the judiciary, it's a set of judges that decides what they are. So you don't always have a right to vote. You sometimes have a right to vote for positions, or a right to cast a ballot. You don't have any rights as to how that ballot is casted or counted or anything after you cast, because your so-called right to vote ends at sticking the ballot in the box.
Yep. Well, so everybody always says, well, the 15th and 19th Amendment. Yeah, but what do the 15th and 19th Amendment explicitly say? They say that your right to vote, shall not be. Oh, wait, let me read it exactly as it's written.
It's probably smart.
Yeah, it's because I'm going off on a tangent here. I did not have this lined up. All persons born or naturalized in the United States, subject to jurisdictions thereof, are citizens of the United States. In the states that they reside, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property. That's the 14th Amendment. 15th, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. What
about condition of citizenship?
Well, yeah,
It's kind of right there in the text, isn't it?
it is what we just read right there.
Yep.
But where is the foundation for the right to vote? There is no foundation for it. There is no foundation in the Constitution for, an explicit right to vote. There's sections that say you can't, infringe on a right to vote based on gender, race, if you're a woman or a man, black, white, Hispanic, whatever the case might be. But these rulings are absurd on their face. The idea that the federal government has no oversight with who's registered to vote and enforcing laws, especially that only a U.S. citizen can vote for federal elections. They have every right to ensure that the voter rolls are cleaned up, especially when you're showing that the states have been shamefully inadequate and lacking in their ability to clean their own voter rolls and using non-governmental organizations, right? If we're going to keep the federal government out of it, which, okay, fine. Then keep these NGOs out. No more ERIC, no more CEIR, no more, these institutions that go out and register voters. No, it's all in-house now. The states want that. Great. Give it to the states, only the states. No outside entities whatsoever should be involved in our voter rolls.
Two things. One, agree with you entirely. And that's why this is so stupid. Because the same states that are saying, oh my gosh, the federal government can't look at our voter records, they sell them. They sell them to third parties. And then they end up, as a result of that exchange, getting a bunch of messed up data back that's going to corrupt their voter rolls. So that's one. The second thing is, didn't Judge Jar Jar Binks say that that the right to vote is protected by the First Amendment? Because I don't think that's true.
It's not true.
Yeah. Right to vote is in the 15th, 19th, 24th, 26th, and 14th. It's also in Article 1 and 2, but it's not in the First Amendment. That's a misunderstanding of the First Amendment. But that's what we get with foreign judges.
Again, this is going to be we don't know if he's foreign sounding name, but we don't know if he's foreign.
Foreign sounding judges that act like they don't understand the Constitution.
Well, that's for sure. Let's see where Judge Hala Jarbu.
You're gonna move past me calling him Jar Jar Binks. You're not gonna say anything about that. Jarbu. Jar Jarbu.
Well, you would happen to be correct, Ash. Judge Jarbu was born in Tel Kaif, Iraq.
Nice. Your First Amendment says no, President. You can't do this. Wait, the First Amendment doesn't say that. Shut up.
So an Iraqi-born judge, federal judge, just told us that we have to. How is that not a conflict of, like, you should be recused from this? She mentions that they're going after non-citizen voters in the voter rolls.
So we have non-citizen judges.
And you're probably a U.S. citizen at this point, but you're not a native-born U.S. citizen. I don't know.
Liberty Lion says, methinks amendments say no.
Well, if we're going to go to Star Wars lore, Jar Jar Binks is, of course, a Sith Lord.
Oh my gosh, Brian.
Oh, Jar Jar Binks is absolutely a Sith Lord. Absolutely.
Jarbu. No, I'm not disagreeing with you about the Star Wars lore. I'm saying you don't have to take this to the second or third technical level on Star Wars. The name is enough.
All right, well, fine. We do have another decision here. And again, this is the pattern. And I put this one specifically after that first article, because this is the pattern that we're seeing, where you have these kind of radicalized judges at the district court level. And then all of a sudden you get to the appellate court where you have, kind of weeded out the maybe in some cases, not all cases, right? But you're starting to get more of a consensus of judges that understand the actual law and don't say that your right to vote is embedded in the First Amendment. And this is something we talked about last week, because they ruled that Kristi Noem does not have the right to end TPS status for Haitians. And so this is kind of carrying on in that same, but this is dealing with Nicaragua, Honduras, and Nepal. It says Ninth Circuit blocks the removal of the protected status for those countries. Little bit of reading here, but it's interesting. A Ninth Circuit panel ruled Monday to pause a lower court order vacating Kristi Noem's decision to terminate temporary status for those countries. The 3-judge panel granted the government's request for a stay pending appeal, finding that the government was likely to succeed on its claims that either the lower court lacked jurisdiction or that the secretary's decision to terminate TPS for the 3 countries was not unlawful. And I understand that this isn't a full ruling, but that's insane that you're debating whether or not the executive branch has the authority to end TPS status, which is
worse. You're suggesting that the current executive branch doesn't have the authority to overturn the previous executive branch setting of TPS, and that's just dumb.
We talked about a case yesterday where the judge was clearly in favor of so it was having to do with detaining and holding migrants that were being deported, like while they were in the deportation proceedings, like while it was happening. They said that yes, the government can keep them detained during those proceedings, and the judge basically said like, hey, the precedent isn't that we let these people go that have been here for a while and they're going through the proceedings. Like, it's not like new people that just crossed and they're going out. These are people that have been here for, and they don't define the term, but that have been here for a period of time, meaning probably 2 or 3 years, maybe 10 years, whatever, that while they're being deported, they can be detained. And the judge said, while I don't personally agree with this, the rule is the rule. And just because previous presidents haven't done it, that doesn't mean that this administration can't do it. And they're interpreting the rule, the law, they're interpreting the law properly in doing this. So that was actually a good ruling by a judge, saying that I personally, I'm reluctant to think that this is okay, but the law is the law. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're giving the judge a lot of credit.
I am absolutely. Well, I mean, the ultimate thing is they ruled that they did have the authority to do it, but she does go off on that personal kind of,
like, to put their little personal privilege tangent in there. And I don't like these laws, but I'm bound by them.
I'm reluctantly doing it, and it's a horrid look for this administration. Yeah.
Really unhappy to do this thing that I lawfully have to do.
So reading back on with this, it says, quote, the government can likely show that the administrative record adequately supports the secretary's action, that the TPS statute does not require the secretary to consider intervening country conditions. I love that, arising after the events that led to the TPS designation, and that the secretary's decision not to consider intervening conditions does not amount to an unexplained change in policy. The government also can likely show that the secretary consulted with the appropriate agencies, adequately considered conditions in Nepal, Honduras, and Nicaragua, and gave facially legitimate reasons for why terminating TPS for each country was warranted. The panel also said it was influenced by the Supreme Court's decision that stayed lower court orders blocking Noem's termination for TPS for Venezuela. And then lastly, this is the absurdity here. It says, those, and we already knew this, but I'm just reiterating it, but those with TPS status cannot be deported and can work legally in the U.S., but they do not have a pathway to citizenship. So what does that mean? These people are just sitting here indefinitely in limbo, and this is their limbo. So they
touch the magic soil, Brian. You can't overturn that, man.
Well, their babies touch the magic soil. And that's the birthright citizenship. So these people come over here, they have no pathway to citizenship being here, but they're here indefinitely. Like, if it takes court orders to be able to say, hey, okay, your time has expired, go back to your country, go back and like we said, I think it was with you last week when we were reading off the plaintiffs in this case, and it's like neuroscientist and like all this stuff. And it's like, hey, they could probably use people like that in that country and might actually become a better place. But it's just absurd that we have this TPS where people can just kind of float around our country indefinitely. And I don't know, man.
Well, who does that benefit?
Many major corporations that are employing these people for pennies on the dollar.
And
in gerrymandering and the census and blue states that
political institutions and NGOs that exist to provide services for the people who are here. So the government pseudo government and corporate interests all benefit from keeping these unlawful people here in a position of limbo, because as long as they're here in a position of limbo, this problem for them to solve still exists. Deporting them ends it for all of those interest groups. So of course they're going to oppose it and, screech about rights and have Iraqis tell the president he can't do stuff.
Hey, Trump appointed her, so
yeah.
That's absurd to me. You want to take a quick break and talk about our first sponsor of the day, Ash?
Absolutely. Everyone is talking about weight loss injections because the results are so dramatic. They work by lowering blood sugar and reducing appetite. So what if you're looking to lose weight, but you're not interested in painful weekly injections, especially when you hear some of those intense side effects, like going blind? That's one of them. One of these side effects of the shots is going blind. Like, what? That's why doctors created the weight loss supplement called Lean. And the results are remarkable. Studied ingredients in Lean have been shown to lower your blood sugar, burn fat by converting it into energy, and curb your appetite and cravings so you're not as hungry. But listen, Lean is not for the casual dieter with only a few pounds to lose. The doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition created Lean for frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. It is dramatic, so be careful. Let's get you started with 20% off and free rush shipping so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and exercise plan. Visit takelean.com and enter Badlands for your discount. Promo code Badlands at takelean.com. And I took Lean for a couple of months, lost a ton of weight very rapidly, stopped taking it, didn't gain any weight back, which was fantastic. That's like something I would have expected. If you stopped taking it, you gain it back. It didn't, although I did then quit smoking and gain like a bunch of weight back. So I'm taking Lean again, and I'm going to be without the weight and without the cigarettes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Lifestyle. Maha.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump into our next story here from Politico. Filibuster fight comes full circle as GOP faces internal pressure on elections bill. I had a rant that I did on my Saturday show, and I was like, that was a pretty good rant. Let me clip it. And it's got almost 100,000 views, and that's a lot for a rant. You normally get 2,000 or 3,000 views, and it took off. This is something that the American people overwhelmingly support, and you cannot dislike the people in our Congress enough. Senate Republicans are facing a full circle moment on the filibuster. 4 years ago, the GOP stood united against a failed attempt by Democrats to overthrow the filibuster. Now, with their own trifecta of government and their own elections bill at issue, Republicans are under pressure to do much the same. The dial on the intra-party pressure cooker is set to ratchet up on Wednesday when House Republicans are expected to pass the Save America Act and send it to the Senate. Backed by an Elon Musk-driven pressure campaign, the conservative hardliners are working overtime to bend their GOP colleagues toward allowing a talking filibuster. Strategy that they believe will ultimately allow the Senate to act on a simple majority basis. The bill would mandate voters present proof of citizenship, such as a passport or birth certificate, to register, and would require photo ID to vote in every state, among other changes. The push to make Democrats hold the floor indefinitely if they want to block it has picked up support from many of Trump's GOP allies, including Josh Hawley, who said, "I'm a fan of the talking filibuster, especially as Democrats have proven more and more obstructionist." And Ted Cruz, who said forcing a talking filibuster is, quote, exactly what we should do, and that he's, quote, making the case vigorously for it. Many other Senate Republicans are wary of any step that further waters down the 60-vote margin after both parties have already diluted it over the past decade. Once a majority makes an exception for one bill, Republicans argue it'll effectively mark the beginning of the end for the legislative filibuster, something many of them see as a bulwark against big government Democrat policies, not an obstacle to GOP priorities. I can't hate these people enough, man. Senator Tom Tillis, hold on, I'll give you first word here, but Senator Tom Tillis said that he was not eager to rejoin a battle that has resulted in party line confirmations of presidential nominees after a series of partisan escalations involving the so-called nuclear option. Tillis said he does not see a substantial difference between these sorts of rule changes, and instead, by trying to force Democrats into a talking filibuster, which GOP proponents suggest would not require going nuclear, both, he said, have the same fundamental message. And then the last part right here, the very last part right here. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, well, I'll leave it right there then. I'll leave it there. So the talking filibuster, they want to not invoke that. And do you know, I admittedly, I know like the filibuster, I know what it is. I know all that stuff. I'm very familiar with it. Do you know how it currently works in the Senate?
They just have to announce the intent to filibuster, and then nobody even has to talk. That's what that was going to be my first word that you were going to give me that you didn't.
Well, I'm giving it to you now. I set you up. I threw you a softball.
So this is really stupid because these people have set up so many rules where the threat of the filibuster they don't even have to prepare to stand up there and talk and not go to the bathroom and, have a plan for what to do with all that. The filibuster used to be this big dramatic thing where they were showing they were in the fight, right? They were willing to sacrifice hours of their day to say, and now they don't even have to. And that's really convenient for them, isn't it? They can have the same legislative impact without actually having to do any of the work. That kind of describes the Congress entirely, doesn't it? We'll just make a rule to get around any of the things we don't want to do. Don't want to subject ourselves to the healthcare plans we're putting on the American people. Just make a different rule. Don't want to have to use the same market models for retirement and for investments that everybody. Just make a rule for ourselves. We'll grant ourselves immunity. We'll do all of these things. So this coming down to the filibuster. It's like, well, standing up there and talking for 12 hours is hard. So let's just shift the rules so we can say we're going to do it. We don't actually have to do it, and we get the same impact. As Brian said, I can't hate these people enough.
Yeah, I mean, I said in my rant, I said they should not only invoke the talking filibuster, but the whole time that a Democrat is up there filibustering on this, just stand up there with the 83% of Americans approve the passage of this bill. There has not been a more glaring incident of these people not at all in any way, shape, or form representing the people that they're allegedly representative of. Period. There is nothing. I've never seen something that has bipartisan support that the Congress is like, yeah, we're not doing it. We're not doing it.
Well, my favorite thing about this is that my reaction to their use of the filibuster would be the same regardless of the issue. But the fact that we're talking about doing this in the SAVE Act, the fact that Democrats think it is a good policy, strategy, approach, position to hold to oppose voter identification when 83% of Americans broadly. This does not tie to race or political party or geographic location. 83% of the electorate in this country wants voter ID. It's like 72 or 73% of Democrats. And yet Hakeem Jeffrey and Schumer and they're going to the mattresses on this one. It's really stupid. Like, why would you fight an unpopular issue like this? It just makes it look like you're really terrified of illegals having to prove that they can vote.
Well,
and they'll lose all their voters.
And there's the racist component, right? They say that voter ID is racist. If you're, which to me is inherently racist. Well, that's the thing is black voters overwhelmingly, more than about 75% of black voters support it.
I had the stats from the latest polling in the brief. I'll pull up the stats exactly. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so that's the thing. Like that, if this is the hill that they want to die on, the Republicans should allow them to die on this hill, and they should be the ones that are the quote unquote executioner in allowing them to die on the hill. But but it's all a facade. The Republicans don't really want to pass the SAVE Act. They want to pretend like they would pass the SAVE Act because they're also the beneficiaries of fraudulent elections, and not so much the fraudulent elections, but the fraudulent primary elections is where the people that are there, they are the champions that won that battle. And then they just kind of had like the Pro Bowl after the Super Bowl where they just have to go out there and play flag football in a fake election, knowing that 90% of your district is a conservative district or a Democrat district, liberal district. So you just have to get through the hurdle. The Super Bowl for them is the actual primaries. They don't want any accountability for the elections. They want to kind of placate to the American people that they actually give a shit about elections. But then when it comes down to it, like, this bill should have been brought right away. Let Schumer stand up there and filibuster this shit. Let Booker go for another 25-hour filibuster where he sat up there for 25 hours back. I think it was like 20. It was
just a couple years ago, wasn't it?
Maybe it might have been 2025. Was it last year?
I think it was really, March 31st to April 1st of 2025, 25 hour and 5 minutes.
Who was the one that did it in 2018? Somebody filibustered for like 30 hours in 2018, I think, somewhere around there. But anyways,
I don't know. But on the voter ID, it's 80. And the source on this polling is Harry Enton, the CNN, the guy that they put up. He's all, oh my gosh, and he draws the lines and circles and everything. I know, he's a lot of fun. But so it's 83% of Americans overall, 71% of Democrats, 82% of Latinos, or Latinxes, if we're being inclusive, and 76% of Black Americans support voter ID. And Democrats have decided this is a hill they're going to die on. Tell me another answer other than they're terrified of not being able to cheat.
I got none.
Yeah, there's no other why. There's no political calculus that makes sense.
It's all
there's
fake.
No principle that says yes, we should keep. Listen, 76% of Black voters say they want this, but they're just too stupid to know that it's racist and that they can't actually get ID. Like, what are we doing? What are they saying? They're opposing their base. They're opposing all of the American people to keep voter registration open and unchecked. That means they want to cheat by any principled or logical reading of the circumstances.
They would not. I mean, the people that are involved in this, Tom Tillis. Now, Tom Tillis is not running for re-election, but John Thune. I mean, John Thune is the leader, right? And of the Senate. Well, the majority Senate. He is not a popular guy. I mean, he wins in South Dakota because it's South Dakota and it's a very, very conservative state. But I bet you if they had free and fair primaries in South Dakota, I don't think John Thune would be the guy leading it. But you can go down the list of people, especially in the Senate, right? Because the Senate is a whole state, which is absurd that we vote for senators. That was not our founding fathers' intentions. But we decided that we're smarter than them. So we changed that, and look at the shit show that's evolved into.
I think it's adorable that you think that the Senate majority leader has anything to do with popularity among the people. That is a lobbyist picked position.
That's my point. Is I'm saying that we are beholden right now to the lobbyists, to the corporate donors, and it's not a republic anymore. It's not a constitutional republic of for and by the people. It's of for and by the people's businesses, the major businesses that are. I'm there, man. I'm there.
Bill Reed says Latinxes sounds derogatory, and Bill, I'm pretty sure that means you're racist.
That was Ash making fun of me for saying Latin X on Monday.
No, I've said Latinx for a while, and I also so I've made it into an adjective and an adverb as well. Latinxist, Latinxes, yeah. So it's that's what they wanted. They wanted us to have the Latin X. I'm not saying that. That's not how the English works. It's Latinx.
When the Senate wants to get something done, Ash, they can. Case in point right here, when it involves them,
sure,
they can get shit done. Politico cell phone providers defend turning over lawmakers' call records to Biden-era DOJ. At a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing on Tuesday, AT&T's David McAtee, T-Mobile's Mark Nelson, and Verizon Consumers' Chris Miller, all general counsel for their companies, maintained that they were bound by subpoenas from the Biden-era Justice Department, where Smith was investigating Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The subpoenas did not command companies to turn over the content of the lawmakers' calls, but the companies were bound by non-disclosure orders that prompted outrage among Capitol Hill Republicans because it was them. I'm outraged that I have illegals voting in my elections and that we have states that are registering voters without doing a shred of due diligence on the person and whether or not they're a U.S. citizen or not. And even if they show you a driver's license, which so many states now allow you to get driver's licenses, even if you are here legally. So, I'm outraged about that. What are you guys doing?
Brian, how can you be outraged? Because there's so many checks and balances that it doesn't matter that all those NGOs go out and get all those voter registration forms, no matter where these people are, and there's no checks. By the way, this includes Scott Pressler going out and registering a bunch of voters without any verification of whether or not they're eligible to vote. Because it doesn't matter, because there are so many checks and balances inside of the state systems to ensure that we don't accidentally register, that when they register someone, they don't accidentally actually register them. Right, Brian?
I'm pretty sure there's probably at least a dozen Seymour Butts registered at 123 Elm Street, because when I was a teenager and I would go to like concerts when Rock the Vote was popular and they were giving away like free hats and stuff to register. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I registered.
You registered as Seymour Butts?
I'm almost positive.
So the statute of limitations on this has to be up. You just admitted to a crime. So
I mean, I was not 18, so I wasn't even.
Oh my God! Now you just compounded the crime.
Yeah, I'm just recalling that was 30 years ago.
Statute of limitations. Yeah, I think the statute of limitations is up. I think
it's expired. All right, reading on. Nelson in his opening remarks said that when T-Mobile receives valid demands from government entities, we respond as required by law and with customer privacy top of mind. McAtee noted in his testimony that his company's cooperation with Smith's request was quote unquote compulsory, and that at one point AT&T did follow up with Smith's office upon receiving a request to produce the lawmaker's phone data, asking about the relevancy of the Constitution's speech and debate clause. The special counsel's office never responded to that email, at least not substantively, and ultimately the office abandoned the subpoena and no records were produced. These were unprecedented circumstances, and while we fully complied with the law, we also acknowledge that we could have done better in terms of our process, Miller said. So I think it was AT&T. Was it AT&T that did not comply? That's what it sounds like to me. If that's the case, maybe AT&T is a corrupt company as well, but what options do we have? Like Patriot Mobile, has that been exposed as like deep state?
I don't think so. I think they're still the narrative about them is that they're still good. I don't know though. I haven't looked into it. They're
the parallel economy. I mean, all of these companies are corrupt as shit, but it seems like AT&T at least did the right thing. You know, they were like, "Hey, why do we have to comply with this?" And Jack Smith was like, "Oh, because I said so." And they're like, "Yeah, piss off."
Yeah, I mean, the key takeaway of this story, you nailed it at the beginning of it. The key takeaway of this story is they can actually get things done if they want to. They can make change. They can unwind regulations. They can hold people accountable. It just only seems to happen when it's about themselves and not actually about the job that they're supposed to be doing. And there are so many examples of this. If you ever see a politician that is out there at the mic and their outrage seems authentic, guarantee you it's because the issue impacts them personally. It's the only time you see authentic outrage from these people is when they're mad about something for themselves.
Well, especially when it's people like Lindsey Graham.
Or Anna Paulina Luna.
Well,
who left the JFK hearing to go do the breast milk on the floor thing. Yes.
That is true.
Anna Paulina Luna, Brian.
CannCon, your hat deal was a RICO? What hat deal? I had a hat deal?
The Rock the Vote hat. I think he's right. You're a material witness at minimum, potentially an unindicted co-conspirator in the Rock the Vote RICO that we just made up.
A 17-year-old co-conspirator at a concert, probably drunk. I don't know.
Such a great example, though, because that is how a lot of those voter registration things happen, right? They go after the kids. They're on college campus all the time. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're actually a citizen or if you've already registered to vote 14 times and this time you're registering, but the last time you were in a different apartment at college. So this time you're registering at a different address and now you have 2 voter registrations, but it's fine. Doesn't matter.
I mean, this is more of a conversation for why we vote, but we have utterly corrupted the
all shows are why we vote now, Brian.
This is true. This is true. I mean, the only news that, I'm really excited about now is all the election stuff that's coming out and the meltdown of the rehash of 2020 all over again. And we'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, that's like everything that we allow an NGO to touch in our government, it gets corrupted. Voter rolls, first and foremost, right out in front. Like Ash just said, you go and register, it takes you 2 seconds to, it's not supposed to be easy. Voting is not supposed to be easy. The more we incentivize retarded people to vote, people that have no idea what the hell they're doing. Did you see the clip we played yesterday of that sheriff in Mecklenburg County? This sheriff was in front of a legislative body testifying, and he did not know how many branches of government there are.
Oh, I saw that clip. I didn't see it.
He did not know what branch he operated under. When he told
Mecklenburg County?
Yeah, I operate under Mecklenburg
under Mecklenburg County.
What? But that's the problem. I mean, and if you think somebody that's an elected official, is that obtuse when it comes to how the government works, what do you think voters are out there? What? And again, this is when you get to the point, and I think we all understand that a lot of these voters that are registered are not actually voting. They're just a filler, right, for somebody that's going to cast a fake ballot for them. Or just throw their name out there. But these are people, that are voting just for whatever the government's going to give them. They don't vote with the intention of the benefit of the country. And this is why this is one of the main arguments that should be made in repealing the 16th Amendment and making the state legislators once again select the senators for the state, because we have we are essentially a democracy at that point. The constitutional republic concept goes away when you don't have the checks and balances within the bicameral Congress. You don't have the state's voice versus the people's voice. Now, I understand what people are saying. Oh, well, you don't want the states. Yes, you do. You do, because the legislature is indicative of the people, but it's also it's not a vote where people are pandering directly to the citizens. You know what I mean? And so it's not a what are you going to give me mentality when the senators are being elected, and they're supposed to be the more serious branch, right? They're supposed to be the upper house. And it's just not that way anymore. We've completely diluted our Congress with the 16th Amendment, 17th Amendment. Excuse me. I saw somebody correct me in the chat. I always confuse those two, the 16th and the 17th.
Okay, so this is from James Madison in Federalist 10. The most common and durable source of factions has been the various and unequal distribution of property. A landed interest, a manufacturing interest, a mercantile interest, a money interest grow up of necessity in civilized nations and divide them into different classes, actuated by different sentiments and views. The regulation of these various and interfering interests forms the principal task of modern legislation. When a majority, and then skipping ahead, when a majority is included in a faction, the form of popular government, it enables it to sacrifice its ruling passion or interest, both the public good and the rights of other citizens. And this is the actual quote that is referred to when people say a democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters discover they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury. It's a misattributed quote. It's not a real founder quote, but it ties back to Federalist 10 and James Madison, who's effectively saying the same thing.
Yep. Okay, so there's your segment of why we vote. I should have like a little what do you call the stinger for that? I should get. I'll get
all
the
shows are why we vote now.
All right, let's jump into this story here. What could go wrong with this idea? Target among the first to test ads inside of ChatGPT.
But before we jump to this, can I just say one more thing about elections? Because someone in the chat that, well, I would still say it anyway. There's a possible troll, possible just raging anti-Semite, Wotan clan, who says stop voting and read Hitler. Voting doesn't do anything, et cetera, et cetera. Separate synagogue and state. I just want to approach the voting doesn't do anything. If so, voting in fake elections is obviously a scam. If it really didn't matter, we would not see the pushback to cleaning up elections. We would not see the rage from the institutions that have benefited from stolen elections for so long. We would not see that level of pushback from these interest groups, the outrage, the absolute insanity over things like voter ID if they weren't afraid of people actually having a voice. I think it's been co-opted, it's been subjugated, it's totally corrupted. We have to fix it. But saying that it's just throw out the concept of popular will driving the governing in America is, I think you've jumped the shark. I think it matters. I think it matters, and I think if we can get rid of the corruption, it will guide us again.
Well, this is, that's the problem. How do you get rid of the corruption when the people that can get rid of the corruption are the people that are the beneficiaries of the said corruption? That's the conundrum that you're in with voting. And we've put forward the ideas. We played the clip on Why We Vote on Friday, the James Collier clip. He outlined the same thing we've been saying since 2020. Following the expose that was the COVID era 2020 election, is hand-marked paper ballots, hand-counted, precinct level. Compress your voting into or not compress, technically expand your voting back to the precinct, 2,000 people or less. And these are valid things that can fix the elections, but nobody gives a shit. Collier knew it. Collier knew it back in 1992, and his research went all the way back to the 70s. And, this is not a novel idea. This isn't even a controversial idea, but they won't even bring it forward because they've got all these retarded Democrats, first and foremost, brainwashed now since the 2020 election under Trump derangement syndrome, that orange man bad. And the only way we can do it is to vote him out. And we are the majority in this country. You're not even close. But, I digress. There's no way to get out of the system. And that's the conundrum. And
there's no way to get out of the system.
There's no way to get out of the system in terms of reforming voting. You can't reform voting with these people. Just look at every attempt, and this is more a conversation for why we.
Yeah, because all we need, Brian, is accountability. All we need is to actually hold these people that you're pissed off about, hold them accountable. And we have the evidence, we have the record. We just need the political will and the legal will to hold them accountable. If we did a sweeping a sweep of accountability, and everywhere that we have the evidence that people have, and I'm including the obstruction, I'm including the narratives and the media's role in this, because they all came together. We know this. We've watched them do it. And now people are saying, oh my gosh, wait a second. Are you saying that in Fulton County, Trump might have actually won the state of Georgia because of what seemed to them? Yes. And also they knew that in November of 2020. So every single one of them needs to be held accountable to the fullest extent allowable by law. As Thomas Jefferson said, tree of liberty, right? You got to refresh it. You have to hold these people accountable to the principles on which they swore an oath. And if you do that, and you do it across the board, then you can actually reform. You can have trust in voting. Again, you can reform these systems. If there is a punishment for co-opting them and subverting the will of the people believe that our vote and our voice is so powerful that it can't be manipulated. Do you have any idea how many people would have to be involved in that? They can't possibly get away with stealing elections. The people's trust and belief in their vote and their voice is so profound, it has prevented them from seeing the truth. If you hold their eyes open like Clockwork Orange and show them the truth and then hold everybody accountable, I think you change the game. I think that's all we need, actually. But the dooming out and the, oh, nothing's ever going to change and everybody's corrupt. Yeah, everybody's corrupt. Let's hold them accountable.
We are now 6 years into the 2020 fight, 5 years, 5.5 years into the 2020 fight, and we finally executed our first FBI search warrant for material.
Yeah, we're 1 year into the administration and control of the institution.
I agree with that.
Who's actually going to do it, though.
Well, we just got
like
done.
Merrick Garland didn't prosecute election fraud. Gasp horror.
Right. Well, we just got done reading a article about how our Senate doesn't even want to bring a bill to require voter ID with 83% American citizen population support. I'm not trying to blackpill on this, but I think we're making a lot of progress. But
progress towards what, though? It doesn't sound like you have any resolution in mind.
I do have a resolution in mind. I absolutely have a resolution in mind. But you know where I stand on this. I literally articulated it earlier. Hand marked paper ballots, hand counted at the precinct level. You can start with the SAVE Act. You can start with enforcing President Trump's executive orders that would outlaw almost every voting machine in this country. But the idea that you can just like hold these people accountable, there is no mechanism to hold them accountable outside of the judicial system and law enforcement. And neither of those have been cooperative up until last 2 weeks ago.
Hang on a second, because the investigation that led to the raid on Fulton County, didn't that start the DNI investigation? It started a year ago.
Well, no, not a year ago, about 3 or 4 months ago.
The DNI investigation into Fulton County started 3 to 4 months ago.
The FBI was on the ground investigating and interviewing
3 or 4 months ago.
3 or 4 months ago.
The investigation started almost immediately after Trump took office, Brian. And that's Gabbard's words and our behind the scenes sources that tell us these things. So zoom out all you want, man. I think it's crazy to fumble in the fucking end zone, though.
I'm not fumbling in the end zone. I'm trying to push the ball into the end zone. But my response was directly to what you were saying about the people waking up and Clockwork Orange and the cool, holding the eyes open and all that. It's just not going to happen. This fight has the line drawn. The people on each side, you're not going to have mass droves of people converting to one side or the other. And
completely disagree with you.
Well, let's get back into this then, because these are the normies. This is what the normies are reading right here, and it's utter fucking nonsense. CNBC, former Trump campaign lawyer, sparked the FBI probe of Fulton County ballot affidavits. This whole article, all right, here it says Olson worked on efforts after the 2020 election to overturn President Trump's loss in that contest to former President Joe Biden. This whole article is just about how this is all nonsense until you get down here to the last 4 paragraphs, hoping that somebody reads this far down into it, and all it does is literally copy and paste 5 bullet points from the warrant, from the unsealed affidavit, and paste them pretty much. And furthermore, it actually goes to try and justify it. It says, auditors who counted votes by hand reported vote tallies that were inconsistent with the actual number of votes within a batch, and that Fulton County reported 2 different vote tallies on the deadline to report. Says, quote, if these deficiencies were the result of intentional action, it would be a violation of federal law, regardless of whether the failure. Okay, so this doesn't justify it. This is just the copy and paste, but it's buried behind all of this, knowing that most people are not going to make it that far in the article. Just the News, a conservative leaning, I would say, outlet, doesn't get into it until the very bottom down here. It says, despite the concerns, Raffensperger insisted none of the problems affected the outcome of the Biden defeating Trump in the state. But one of the witnesses in the FBI affidavit, witness number 4, was a top lieutenant to Raffensperger and acknowledged that the FBI, acknowledged to the FBI that he was unaware of some of the corroborated irregularities and admitted that they were possibly problematic. The director of elections for Georgia Secretary of State since 2020 was not aware of physical ballots not matching the number of ballot images. Witness 4 said a discrepancy like that would be problematic, but did not know if anyone went back and checked that. Witness 4 said during the hand count that they did not audit for issues like image discrepancies. He said the images are just duplicates. It would be more concerning if there were discrepancies between physical ballots and voter count. The concern is less about the images and more about the ballots and voter count. Of course, we know that there's been a 5-year battle just to see those physical ballots that they say, and you talk about this all the time with me, that we're always told that the evidence of the secure election is the physical ballot, but you can never see the physical ballot. So I'm going to let you talk now.
Okay. Well, I mean, so yes, We've been concerned about these things since 2020, and since, over time. You said it yesterday. The unsealed Fulton County warrant reads like the Why We Vote catalog on Georgia, right? It's all of the different issues with elections that we've been talking about. It was a conspiracy theory, Brian, that any of those things, poll tapes, zero records, that any of those things would prove anything or were even valuable. We were called conspiracy theorists. Holly and Kevin and everybody down in Georgia were called conspiracy theorists for saying that. Now that information is not just the subject of an investigation that we've been told about, that has been going on since Trump took office this time, and not going on just in the DOJ with the FBI, but apparently being led out of the Director of National Intelligence, which is the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, which is freaking everybody out, right? Why is Tulsi Gabbard involved? This isn't foreign. Well, we actually have domestic intelligence too. They're all freaking out about that. Now those records have been taken. It looks like Fulton County doesn't have all of the records that they're supposed to have. All of this is in process of being dealt with, and I don't see how you get to nothing's happening, nothing's going to happen. Doom out. I think it is crazy. It is crazy to think that this Trump administration, the people sitting in the positions of power right now, would awaken all of us to this, would show it to us, would confirm all of these things that we've been saying, and then be like, yeah, and then nothing we can do.
That is not at all even close to what I said. What I said is we, the people, do not have mechanisms that we can viably use to check out of the system, to fix the system. We are completely dependent on people to fix the system that are beneficiaries of the system. That was my point. Not that we're not going to get anything done. I've been a long time proponent that we're going to get things done this year. But how much are we going to get done? I don't know, because you're seeing the Senate right now be a bunch of bitches over an 83% support event, bill. That was my point. Not that we're not going to get anything done. I mean, I think I can't name somebody off the top of my head that's been more vocal about all the things that are going on right now in Georgia than I have been. I can't. Maybe somebody exists, but.
So you know what this ties back to, though, which is kind of cool, is that the conversation we were having about the Kansas thing, where Tulsi Gabbard is not the beneficiary of a stolen election. So right. Secondarily, right, she was appointed by Trump, who was elected in the system, but Tulsi Gabbard's job is not dependent upon the will of the voters by design. And that is, kind of just my counter to your concern.
And that's fair. I mean, there's still going to be a lot of, and I'll have a story coming out about this soon, but you're going to see a lot of, people that are within that bureaucratic agency that still are evil to the core and don't want any type of, sunshine being shown on this. And those factions are, hopefully being rooted out, but they're numerous. There's a lot of them. It's a lot of them. So yeah, let's we're going to talk more about this, because I was telling you before the show that it's 2020 all over again, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But before we do that, I do want to talk about a sponsor, and might have to utilize this sponsor at some point during the show, because I'm starting to doom out. When was the last time you woke up actually feeling rested or got through a day without feeling totally stressed out? Over 50% of adults say they feel better if they got more sleep, and stress is often the biggest barrier. That's why CBD from CB Distillery makes so much sense. CB Distillery is natural solutions for sleep and stress that can break the vicious stress sleep cycle. Any and everything from CB Distillery, is premium quality, third-party tested, and free from artificial dyes or fillers. They're the source that I trust, and so do 2 million other happy customers. And I don't have my gummies up here. Otherwise, I'd probably pop a gummy right now just so that I could relax. Goose fraba a little bit, right? You can shop on their website by benefit if you want better sleep, less stress, improved focus, pain relief after workouts, or even something for your pets. It's all right there. So if you're ready to start seeing better sleep, less stress, and just feeling good again, check out cbdistillery.com. Visit cbdistillery.com and use promo code Badlands for 25% off. Again, that's cbdistillery.com, promo code Badlands, cbdistillery.com. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. I said during the thing, I don't know if you were there, but I probably should take a gummy and just relax. Goose Faraba. No, I mean,
there's a couple people in the chat that are upset that we're talking about elections. Like, these guys already have a show on elections. Why are you talking about elections? No, choke on a dick.
Jeez, I was just gonna say it's our show, and if you don't like it, you can go watch.
That's what I said.
You can go watch. You can go watch Bongino rage out about Democrats versus Republicans and Nancy Guthrie and whether or not she's alive. Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. This is the stuff we talk about, the shit that actually matters in this country. So if you guys want to go get in all, you can watch Fox News. Like, Laura Ingram's got a spot for you tonight. Sure. Where Democrats fight Republicans and Republicans fight Democrats. So stupid. We are fighting the mainstream media. Check this out. Washington Post. FBI cited debunked claims to obtain warrant for Fulton County vote records. Documents show. There it is. It's been debunked. Safest, most secure election ever. The FBI relied heavily on previously debunked claims. You know what's really strange about that, Ash? There's no line under previously debunked. Like, cite your work. Where's this been previously debunked?
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah.
In these stories, anytime the story comes up, it's, long debunked, previously debunked, something conspiracy theories, like they're real. They really want to hold back to when they had total control of the communication apparatus and they censored and banned all of us that were saying things in opposition, and they were able to debunk election fraud claims because they just censored everybody that didn't agree with them. They just banned us from speaking, including, President Trump on Twitter and, other peoples in statutory authority. They can just say debunked, but that doesn't work anymore. And we should, Brian, force them to show their work. We should, when articles come out with lines like that, we should all write in and be like, can you say where this was previously debunked? Because like in the thing of Georgia, the GBI investigated and cleared this. This has been debunked by the GBI. That's essentially what underlined all of the debunked about Fulton County claims, was that the GBI investigated, and we know now that they didn't.
Yep.
So we should make them, we should hammer them in the audience. If you ever see that previously debunked conspiracy theories, blah, 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 you should write to the editor and tell them to show their work and where it's been debunked, because it hasn't.
Yep. The FBI relied heavily on previously debunked claims of widespread election irregularities in Georgia as it persuaded a federal judge last month to sign off on plans to seize scores of 2020 voting records. I guess the previously debunked, the judge missed that. The judge didn't get that when they signed off on this. Anyways, many of the irregularities they raised, including claims of duplicate ballots and missing ballot images, have been previously explained by county officials, the guilty parties. The complicit parties explained away. We didn't do anything wrong. And they have been previously explained by county officials as the types of routine errors that frequently occur, are typically corrected in the moment, and are not significant enough to sway the outcomes of an election. Independent reviews have backed up that conclusion. Also, no source citations in that. But let's unpack that real quick. Previously explained by county officials. First and foremost, the only explanation to the duplicate images that I've seen is from the Secretary of State, which is a state official. And that's the General Counsel, Charlene McGowan, who litigated this, essentially argued this in front of the state election board. Well, I shouldn't say argued, monologued it, because for the first time in, that I can remember, and I've been watching the state election board for years now, for the first time that I can remember, the complainants were not allowed to offer a rebuttal to the investigation. Okay, they were not allowed to. And Joe Rossi testified, last month that he was under the impression that they would be allowed to, like he was told that they would be allowed to, and they were given 2 minutes or like 6 minutes or something to rebut that. Okay, so get over that shit. And then what's the other thing they say? They're typically corrected in the moment. To this day, Joe Rossi's findings, the 7,000 votes, has still not been corrected on the Secretary of State's website on the official count. To this day, none of these, which have been accepted by the state election board, signed off in a consent agreement with Fulton County, they've acknowledged it, but they still haven't corrected the record. So no, it's not corrected in the moment. It's not even corrected 6 years later, and are not significant enough to sway the outcome of an election. That doesn't matter. the outcome of an election being swayed is not part of 52 USC 2511. It does not matter if the effects are outcome determinative. That being said, you don't know that they're not, because we have not fully investigated. Because had this been accepted, it would have led to a more widespread and thorough investigation rather than relying on the Secretary of State, who is a complicit party, and it could very well be an implicated party in this, investigating themselves. Can't allow that to happen. I'll let you comment on that.
Yeah, I just have a question for you because you know the story better than I do. The whole Fulton domain. Who do you think has greater culpability in? And I know that they both do, but who has greater culpability in what happened down in Georgia? Secretary of State or the governor?
Secretary of State.
But the governor's killed the investigations. He was the definitive reason why it went away.
Well, he killed the investigation into the True the Vote claims. I know that there's claims that he killed all the investigations, ultimately. I mean, if it turns out, yes, that he killed the investigations with GBI on a wide scale, then absolutely he should be held accountable for that. But as it sits right now with what we have right now,
produce testimony.
That's just the True the Vote thing, though.
The excuse that he was given does not sound like it is just True the Vote. We're not going to look into this, be a team player,
It is because he refers explicitly to a May meeting where True the Vote presented their evidence to him. So they are.
No, I understand that the triggering event for that comment was the True the Vote claims. The totality of the response from Kemp's office, allegedly, according to Purdue's testimony, is we're not doing this. We're not going after this. Be a team player, fall in line. The election's over. We're moving forward. That's kind of the gist of it, the sense of it. So to me, it is it's Kemp.
Well, based on what we know, what we wrote, and I think this is going to expand. I said I was on my buddy Neil's show yesterday, and I said this is going to be a RICO case. This is going to be a big time racketeering case. I think if they pursue it the way that it should be pursued, you have county officials that are involved in this. You have temp workers that are going to be involved in this. You have this is going to go all the way from the county who committed the action ultimately to the Secretary of State who assisted in covering it up and thwarted any investigations, and the governor also who thwarted investigations. But I just don't know how much you're going to be able to prove on that. But like I said, if it is proven that Kemp stopped widespread at scale, he stopped investigations, then absolutely he's accountable to this, and he might be that might make him the worst culprit in all of this.
So you've got Vic Reynolds and David Perdue, who are witnesses essentially to that right now. If true, there would have to be a ton of other witnesses to that being the strategy of the governor's office at that time. There's more. So to that point, I think we circle back around to accountability. You hold a couple of these people accountable. You put the screws to them, and you make it known we're rolling up every single one of you, and you're going to get a lot of these people to flip. And you're going to get you won't solve it entirely because corruption is never going to go away until Jesus comes back. But you will solve the rampant corruption problem because people will be terrified, in my opinion.
So reading on, it says the affidavit cited previously aired theories from several prominent election deniers whose names were redacted. Dr. Jan Johnson, the vice chair of the state election board, her name is redacted in the documents. I think Joe Rossi, I think his name's redacted. Trying to think, there's a bunch of names that are redacted in the document. It's not hard to figure out who they all are. To say that they're prominent election deniers is absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. I don't
know why we take that as an insult, because the election deniers were proud. Hashtag proud election denier.
Well,
one day I want to be known as a prominent election denier.
I mean, I think we are. Media Matters calls us that every day. So, well, not every day, but often. By the way, Mr. Kaplan, good to see you. I'm sure you'll have plenty of material to write for after this episode, although I don't know if he watches daily. I think he just watches Why We Vote.
No.
The FBI's investigations was prompted
Why are you
by
being so nice to him?
I don't know, from former Trump campaign lawyer and prominent election denier Kurt Olson, multiple audits, nearly a dozen court rulings, and former Trump Attorney General William Barr have found no evidence of widespread fraud. I mean, they're just literally rehashing all
no
the
sources.
With no sources. Multiple audits. There's never been one single audit done in Fulton County, other than the
what outlet is this article?
Washington Post.
Okay.
Other than the quote unquote hand count audit, which was a risk limiting audit, which is not an inspection of any sort of, somebody shared the explanation that if you count 50 apples and you recount 50 apples, you have 50 apples. But if you actually look at the apples and find out that 5 are plastic, 3 are rotten, you don't have 50 apples anymore, right? That's the kind of the explanation. Reading on, U.S. Magistrate Judge Catherine Salinas in Atlanta found the Justice Department had met the threshold and signed off on the warrant on January 28th, hours before the raid. Fulton County officials have urged a different federal judge, Trump appointee J.P. Bully, to order the return of all materials seized by the FBI. Quote, claims that the 2020 election results were fraudulent or otherwise invalid have been exhaustively reviewed and without exception refuted, says Fulton County Attorney Why So Jew.
Joe. Sue Joe.
No. Why So Jew? Joe?
Sue
Okay, Joe.
Joe.
Why Sue Joe? Well, I mean, that's even bad in its own. Why Sue Joe?
I wouldn't sue Joe. Well, wait, which Joe are we talking about?
Joe Biden, man.
Yeah, I'd sue him. Can you drop the link to that Washington Post article in the chat? And so just to recap,
Why am
anytime
I the private chat? I'm like, why would I?
No, not the private chat, the chat, because people want to write to the editor and tell them to cite their sources when they say that stuff is debunked. My only request of people would be, don't yell and make threats and call them stupid and everything. Just tell them to cite their sources. I'm sorry, where was this debunked? Where can you please cite your sources? And if a lot of people do that, they will start to feel afraid because they only exist by public acceptance. They exist because we allow them to.
I shared this out on X. It's early 2021 all over again. The Mockingbird media is going to rehash quote unquote debunked. No, nothing has been quote unquote debunked. You know how you know nothing's been debunked? Because for the first time ever, the physical ballots are going to be inspected, not counted. That didn't work out so well. Inspected. Quit while you're only down 1/3 your staff, Washington Post, which, by the way, that turns out to be a lie. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but the Washington Post they're actually down about half of their staff.
Nice.
It says here, news reports about the layoffs, including from the New York Times, generally agreed that about 1/3 of the Washington Post newsroom would be eliminated by the layoffs. However, an accounting by the Washington Baltimore Newspaper Guild, the union that represents Post journalists, finds that the paper's management eliminated closer to half of the journalists that it used to employ. So keep on with this bullshit reporting. Keep on not citing sources. All right. And I said this the other day, and Stephen Richer, did you see his post?
Yeah.
Did you see both of his posts?
I saw the one where he's throwing shade at Gateway Pundit and you by extension.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'd just like to reiterate that I always thought you were too nice to him.
Well, no, I mean, I guess you could interpret it as throwing shade. He doesn't say one way or the other. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So Stephen Richer put this out yesterday. He said, I agree with my pen pal CannCon in one respect. Nothing in the affidavit is new. It's all been posted to the Gateway Pundit before. And that's where I said, nothing in it is new. Let me just 2 seconds, guys, because this is the accountability that we need. Here's my article yesterday on the unsealing of the warrants.
But just so that we're clear, that Stephen Richer post is, it's all been debunked. Everybody's already seen these allegations before. Everybody knows about them. There's debunked. That's what he's basically saying with that tweet.
Not that one. He has another one that
that's how I read it.
Well,
that's what I told you last night. You're like, what do you make of this? I'm like, I think that he's calling it all bullshit and throwing shade on you.
The way I read it is it's the Gateway Pundit. It's a far right blog, and nobody should trust them. But then you go in here, and I just showed you the Washington Post, right? The authoritative source on everything, right? No links. But then you go through my article right here, as I've reported. link right there to a previous article. And if you go to that article, everything is cited. Everything. I don't make claims without citing it. The affidavit for the warrant, I link to everything. Okay. And so, you can throw all the shades you want. You can throw all the shades you want. Debate me. Come on. I'm so pissed, man. We got to go full scale to war with the Mockingbird media on this. We have to.
And Stephen Richer, Brian. We need to go to war with Stephen Richer, which means you need to stop
I'll
being
invite
nice.
him back on. I'll invite him back on, and we can go to war. And that's the interesting thing. Like, I'll have to go back and clip how we walked away from that interview, because I think towards the end of that interview, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think towards the end of that, he basically said, well, I'm not familiar with these claims, so I need to research this a little bit more, and then we can talk further on it. And it's all the claims that were in this warrant, because this is what I've been covering for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So this is what he put out. This is the second post. He said, a few quick thoughts on the Fulton County affidavit. It's largely based on complaints already made either in court or before the state election board. False.
Yes. Well,
never been made in court.
No, it had the Fannie Rico.
No.
No,
You're missing it. Fulton County affidavit, the probable cause affidavit, is based on complaints, meaning 2023-025 and 2021-181 that were already made in either court or before the state election board. They were made before the state election board. 181 was found correct, and 0235 or 025 was never offered or chance to rebut it. And then last month they came back and said, hey, we should have let you rebut this. We're going to let Joe Rossi talk about the 6,691 duplicates. And Fervier was like, he was like, yeah, I should have let you talk about it. I was brand new to the board. I didn't know, I was trying to figure out how the ropes go, and I didn't let you guys debate it. He stopped everything shy of saying I was wrong.
fair point.
Right. So that's my point on that. So
yeah, what I was reacting to was that a lot of the evidence that was seized has been brought up in court before judges before, like McAfee. But I get what you're saying about the complaints. That's a fair point.
It says if certain mistakes had a criminal intent, then they could be criminal acts. How does seizing the ballots go to the intent of the actors? Well, do you want to get we already have the emails. Like, there's already emails and everything else that's going to be included in this. Like, this is what I don't understand, Ash, and this blows my mind. Like,
can I answer that question? Because so yeah, how does seizing the ballots go to the intent of the actors? Well, the actors have made a ton of assertions about the ballots, and if the ballot landscape, right, if what they say they have isn't what they actually have, and they've engaged in a cover-up, that absolutely goes to intent.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. So next question, Stephen Richer.
Well, that's one of the things that's mind-blowing is I'm seeing all these like attorneys and stuff that are commenting on this, and they're like, why are they there's no evidence of widespread fraud. Why are they seizing the ballots? And I'm like, holy shit. Do you know how a search warrant works? Like, you bring probable cause. Probable cause doesn't mean you have to have evidence. Probable cause means that you have cause to go get the evidence.
Yeah.
Like, these are lawyers that are, one guy's a law professor, and I'm like, holy shit, you're a law professor. But this goes back to what I said earlier. Like, when somebody tells me that they're a lawyer, I'm like, oh, okay, so you're half retarded, maybe full blown retarded.
There are some good ones. Go back to his questions. Yeah, because some of these are great. This is very revealing from Stephen Richer, and I think it's a little panicked.
Number 3, it does not name any alleged criminals, redacted or otherwise. It gives no insight into who they think might have committed a crime.
So the very first page is talking about the documents that are being concealed at the specific addresses that they're going to get the information from. And they explicitly state that they're looking into criminal activity. It's like the first page of that declassified doc dump that you and I got. So it's implied that the document custodians and the authorities in Fulton County are the people that they're concerned have engaged in criminal conduct. And I think that's obvious.
Well, not only that, the thing that this is unique because in seizing those documents, every one of those documents should in some form or fashion have a chain of custody attached to them that would tie back to a specific individual or group of individuals along the process, the chain of processing it. And so you'll find, the people that are accountable, if the crime is there, the people that committed the crime will be attached to that through records in a utopian world. I think all of that's probably gone already. Number 4, the witnesses are largely drawn from the MAGA people on the Georgia State Election Board and then election fraud hobbyists. Oh. The election fraud hobbyists. I'm sorry. Kevin kicked Stephen Richards' ass in that debate.
Yeah.
So there's your hobbyist. All right. A former elected official, quote unquote elected official, got pummeled by the hobbyist.
But what Stephen, you're focusing on the hobbyist part, and I get that it's insulting, right? He's insulting Kevin and the broad group of Georgia activists who have relentlessly pursued these claims and have brought them to where authorities are now investigating them. But the MAGA people on the state election board, that's egregious, because basically what he's saying is that members of the state election board with a specific political ideology aren't credible and shouldn't be taken seriously. So if that's what we're doing, then every progressive Democrat and DSA Democrat that's sitting on any sort of authoritative board anywhere is delegitimized by Stephen Richards' logic.
No witnesses with actual election administration. Again,
that's a really good one. That's you're not an elections expert. So you might be a technology expert, but you're not an elections expert. You're not an expert in these bullshit processes that we've designed to give ourselves plausible deniability.
Well, Clay is one of the witnesses. He has almost a decade working for a voting system test lab. Okay, so he's intimately involved in. He's been qualified as an expert witness in his own state, Richard's own state. And I think they don't qualify experts in Colorado, but they accepted his testimony, even though they didn't widely allow him to testify. But
so that's really interesting, because we would say that number 5 is just false, right? Because Clay Parikh is a witness in this case, and Clay Parikh has experience with elections. But election administration and election technology and testing, I think Stephen Richer and the elections institution, right, would argue are different things, right? Because elections administration is our special knowledge of processes for how things like inflated voter rolls aren't really a big deal, right? It's this qualitative group of body of expertise that people like Mark Elias and David Becker and John Bonifaz have defined over time is the expertise of elections. And then they build up all of these entities to kind of corroborate that, right? You have NAS and the local professional associations. You have the vendors, but then you also have things like CISA and CIS, right? The non-governmental kind of adjacent aspect of it. And this whole ecosystem of companies and consultants and skill sets, but they're not technology skill sets. They're not experts. And none of the people that claim to be experts in election administration are technology experts. There's actually, I think by design, a real separation between those two things. So Clay Parikh can test voting systems for a voting systems testing lab for 10 years. And Stephen Richer will say, well, he doesn't have any election administration experience. And that is the kind of plausible deniability that drives this system and is a hallmark, all the classic earmarks of a fully corrupted ecosystem.
Well, let me just show real quick. This is the indictment right here, or not the indictment, the probable cause affidavit. Can you read this line right here?
If you pull it up on the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on my screen that has StreamYard. Read that highlighted line.
Witness 8 was a poll manager during the 2020 presidential election and had been a poll manager for over 25 years. She was asked to work during the risk limiting audit. So yeah, it's even if you control for Clay, Stephen Richer is full of shit.
And then let's see just what she exactly saw. Read that top line.
Witness 8 received boxes of ballots that had broken security seals. When she asked about the security seals, she was told by an unknown individual that they did not matter. That happened to me at the Colorado recount in 2022. They brought out boxes to be recounted and the seals on the boxes were broken. And I asked about that. I took video and pictures of it and asked about it. And I was told it didn't matter. They just like taped it and it was fine.
So keep reading.
Witness 8 recalled receiving one batch of ballots that contained 110 ballots. Witness 8 said she noticed quickly that those ballots seemed different. Of the 110 ballots, 107 had the exact same votes for each candidate on the ballot. These ballots were also pristine in that they had not been folded. She said the 107 were labeled as absentee ballots, but they were too clean to be absentee ballots in her opinion. She said that the texture of the 107 ballots felt different from all the other ballots and the bubbles were all filled in the same.
So let me just ask you this. Out of 110 ballots, 107 not filled out the same way for one candidate. You know, that would be an anomaly. If you had 107 out of 110 ballots that were all Joe Biden over Donald Trump, that would be strange. But when you have 107 that every single vote is the same, that's impossible.
All in order, like all together in a batch.
And then you factor in as well that the ballots were pristine and felt different from a 25-year poll manager that's telling you this.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, that same manager just testified that the boxes came in with broken seals, meaning the chain of custody on how these were handled is completely gone.
Do you think that Stephen Richer actually read this, or do you think that he's just repeating the talking point he was given?
I don't think anybody read it. In fact, I was arguing with some retard lawyer on X. No. I'm saying the people that are pushing back against this. I know you read it. I sent it to you yesterday. I knew you.
Holly sent it to me, actually.
Oh, that's right. Holly. That's right. You're right. I sent it to everybody else. Yeah, that's right. Holly sent it to us right away. So I was arguing some retard lawyer that's like, you didn't even read the affidavit. And I was like, bitch, I read the complaint when it was a draft 4 years ago. You clearly doesn't, know whatever, but making these same arguments, like, oh, well, and it's the same argument Richard made in our interview. Well, the poll tapes not being signed is just an administrative issue. It's oversight. They forgot to do it, whatever. It's no big deal. Yes, it is a very big deal. We're not talking about 3 or 4 ballots here that are missing that. We're talking about 148, every single one. That's not administrative oversight. That is a complete breakdown of the system and the integrity that is designed to ensure the integrity of that system.
So wouldn't J. Alex Halderman say, though, that voting behavior is so random and chaotic because humans are random and chaotic, that stack of pristine, not folded ballots in which everything was voted the exact same way could be real. We just can't know because we can't use statistics to understand voting. To this day, one of my favorite testimonies ever. And I know I bring it up a lot, but it's so ridiculous.
We're going to have a great time on why we vote this weekend or this Friday, not this weekend, this Friday.
Kind of the weekend, 7:30 p.m. I feel like we're into the weekend at that point.
I haven't listened to this yet, so let's listen to John Solomon talking about the affidavit, probable cause.
We got a lot of big news for you today. In fact, I would argue that today is one of the most momentous days in the fight for election integrity in a very long time. Just the news obtained just a short while ago, the affidavit that the FBI filed back in late January for probable cause for that raid on the Georgia Fulton County election warehouse. What the FBI says in that affidavit is extraordinary. It says it has, quote, substantiated, those are the exact words, that there were irregularities in the vote count in Fulton County. That is the Atlanta area, the largest urban center, the largest vote center in Georgia. FBI Special Agent Hugh Raymond Evans first filed the affidavit last month. It got unsealed today. It establishes the probable cause for that raid, which were 700 boxes of 2020 election ballots were taken from a storage warehouse. After getting a referral, by the way, this is something we learned in the affidavit, the referral of this information, the specific credible evidence, came from the White House election integrity czar, a guy President Trump picked named Kurt Olson. Now, the FBI agent wrote in that affidavit that, quote, some of the allegations that were raised about the Georgia election have been disproven, while some of the allegations have been substantiated, including through direct admissions by Fulton County. I want you to stop and just think about that for a second. Fulton County is now admitting they did things inappropriately for the 2020 election. Doesn't mean the vote totals are going to change, but the way they counted and how they audited it and how they did the recount clearly in great concern. His affidavit cited 5 major areas of irregularities. I'm not going to go through all of them with you. I'm going to tell you all 5 are things that Just the News reported between 21 and 24 during our investigation of the Georgia election.
All right, we can stop. That's pretty awful. It's pretty awful.
It's normie though, right? I mean, that's normie news release about a thing that we've been talking about for 5 years.
I know.
And that's good. We should be excited about that. We should be happy about the fact that the normies are getting the information about Fulton County. The greatest barrier is, oh my gosh, what are we going to do about it now? That was 6 years ago, right? Five plus years ago. And yeah, I mean, I think it comes back to accountability. It changes if we have accountability. If there is actually mass punishment for the people that stole and then covered up elections and then engaged in lawfare to persecute anybody else that even brought it up, you hold those people accountable. And yeah, I think that's how you change it.
Man, we got to formulate a strategy to go after these people, the mainstream media, and after them with facts, right? Not after them. It's like I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed because this is what we went through in 2021. This is, we had to, circle the wagons around this and defend ourselves against these types of attacks. And granted, I think our base, people that understand that the mainstream media is consistently lying to them, are getting it. Now is the opportunity where we need to be able to take this and throw it back. Like in 2021, we couldn't. It was so hard to break through to people because they just could not believe it. They couldn't understand it. But I feel like today, I don't know if it's more likely that you can reach them or if it's less likely, because the polarization between Trump bad and Trump and whatever in the media is far worse than I think it was in 2020 before the election. And so I'm just wondering, I don't know, got to formulate a way to resist this and yeah. I don't know. All right. This threw me off the game because I switched everything around because we kind of segued into that. Let's get back to this story. You remember this story, Ash? Target among first to test ads inside ChatGPT. Don't you dare throw me off again. Okay. There. The pilot announced yesterday pairs Target with OpenAI and Target's retail media unit Roundel, and introduces clearly labeled ads that appear alongside shopping-related conversations. Ads are triggered by keywords in a user's prompt and shown separately from the AI's responses, which Target says they do not influence. Users were already using ChatGPT to research products, compare options, and plan purchases, and some of that activity was already sending traffic to retailers. Target's decision to participate in the pilot treats conversational AI as another entry point into retail discovery rather than a standalone experiment. So we have now commercialized AI and large language models into putting ads in there based on what you're searching for. I think this is going to be a terrible idea. I don't think companies are going to be able to, I don't think ChatGPT is going to be able to have an advertising agreement with Target or any company and remain unbiased in how it responds to questions that might involve that company and anything that would be derogatory about that company. I just don't see this as a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still waiting for them to put advertisements in the sky because they're going to do that. No, like the projected, like the blue beam projected ones, like an idiocracy kind of advertising landscape.
What's going on with your connection? Is that me or is that you?
I don't know. Let me check.
We're freezing up a little bit right there.
Am I?
No, you're good now. You're good now. It was just there. Yeah, I don't know. I think the AI thing, I thought that story was interesting. Man, there's
AI is going to hit every industry, every sector, every application of work, every aspect of our lives. It's going to be used in the analysis and research. It's going to be used to shape your relationship with things. I think we already see a lot of that. Yeah, we already see a lot of that. Like there's a kind of this is off topic of the advertising thing, but if you think about like X, right? Every post on X now has that little grok icon up in the top, which is great if there's something being talked about that you don't understand and you want to get some context on it and understand where the conversation is going. That's great. But it's not so great when it's shaping your relationship with the story, right? Totally debunked, this post is spreading completely debunked, blah, 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 right? That's the kind of shaping of the collective mind that's happening through AI, and it'll happen through advertising. It'll happen through every domain, but it's happening now. It's not coming. It's here.
All right, let's jump into this story here. Trump Commerce Secretary Lutnick admits visiting Epstein Island during family vacation. I did have lunch with him and I was on a boat going across on a family vacation, end quote. In 2012, Lutnick said in a testimony before the Senate Appropriations Committee, my wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children. And we had lunch on the island. This is true for an hour, he said. And we left with all of my children, with nannies and my wife, all together. We were on a family vacation. Lutnick previously said that he cut off contact with Epstein in 2005, years before. Epstein pled guilty in 2008 to state-level charges of soliciting a minor for prostitution. In December of 2012, Epstein invited Lutnick to lunch on his private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The documents showed the 2 men also had business dealings as recently as 24. And this is, just part of that smear campaign that's going on. I don't know what to make of it one way or the other. I don't think every single person that went to the island is, necessarily a bad person, but that's a horrible look when you tell people that you haven't had any dealings with him since 2005 and that you have as recently as 2012 and 2014. That's a really bad look.
And why? Yeah, why'd you lie?
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Now, the idea that he's there with his family and his wife and his kids, I mean, sure, that sounds good, but I mean, that's the same excuse that's used for Trump on the plane, right? Mm-hmm. So Trump took the plane from West Palm Beach up to what was the New York, I think,
right? But he was up at Jersey. I think he was up at like in the Jersey. And he was on with Ivanka with Marla and Tiffany, right? And that's it was there. It was just, I just caught a ride. It sounds like the Lutnick excuse is, well, I was there with my family. This is a totally innocent thing, business meeting on an island, had lunch, left, no big deal. But why'd you lie?
Yeah, that's my concern as well. I mean, do I think he, did anything? Probably not. I mean, I could see, you're in the Virgin Islands, you're doing business with the guy, and he's like, hey, why don't you come over for lunch? You take a boat over, you eat lunch, and you go home. I don't know. It's not like
when they were in the same industry, right? That's the kind of thing, like, to your point, from a business associate standpoint, they were in the same industry. Lutnick also has the 9/11 allegations against him, right? That he was, just happened not to be in the World Trade Center the morning of 9/11. So it's compounding. I think the conspiracy theories will go nuts. My key question is, why did you lie about it recently? Like, why in this recent age did you lie about something that was provable? Because that's a problem. It seems like you're trying to cover something up.
I was going to play this, but you just brought up the conspiracy aspect. So Ro Khanna yesterday was on the House floor and named 6 billionaires that he says were redacted that shouldn't have been. And The Guardian goes through and documents those. So rather than play that clip, we'll just run through these real quick. Les Wexner, we all know Les Wexner from he's like Epstein's BFF. He bought him like a $70 million home in New York. Established a retail empire, including Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie and Fitch, and Bath and Body Works. Maintained a lengthy financial relationship with Epstein, who handled his investments for many years. He's attributed as the person who launched Epstein's financial status from millionaire to plutocrat. Wexner. Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the Dubai-based businessman, leads DP World, a multinational ports and logistics enterprise with operations spanning more than 80 countries. His brother, Mohammed bin Sulayem, not that MBS, but a different MBS, is the head of the FIA, which governs motorsports, including Formula One. He emailed Epstein in 2015 saying that he met a girl, quote unquote, 2 years ago that went to an American university in Dubai. And it was, quote, the best sex I ever had. Amazing body. And I guess that's relevant somehow. I don't know. But the ports and the logistics thing is a little nerve wracking.
Sounds like an adult female, though, right?
Yeah. Also sounds relatively consensual and unrelated to Epstein specifically. But Nicola Caputo, an Italian politician who represented his country in the European Parliament between 2014 and 2019, also held a senior position at Campania's regional administration. No verified evidence confirms this individual is mentioned in the officially released documents. And then the next three, they don't even know who the hell they are. Salvatore Nuara says it's not yet known who they are and how they're connected. Zurab Mikalades and Leonov. So there you have it. But that's not what I really wanted to get to. There's this document right here that I think it was MJ Truth put this document out. And just to add on to the Epstein's still alive, Ash, in order to thwart the media, Redacted, Dupree, and Adams used boxes and sheets to create what appeared to be a human body, which was put into the white OCME vehicle, which the press followed, allowing the black vehicle to depart unnoticed with Epstein's body.
Yeah.
So in the most recent files, we found out the DOJ was prosecutors were negotiating with Epstein 2 weeks before he was killed. They put out a press release about his death the day before he actually died. It was dated the day before he died. What else do we know? The orange blur story became relevant again, and the FBI says it's probably an inmate. The DOJ says it's probably a corrections officer. That's conflicting stories. And now we find out that they don't have the noose the noose that was used to hang him. And now we find out that they tried to, obscure people from seeing his body leave, and they used a decoy vehicle. Like
there was a decoy body made of boxes and stuff, right? So they have a decoy body involved, but it's just because they didn't want people to see the real body. It's not because he's not dead and actually in WITSEC, allegedly.
And then this story here that everybody's talking about, he purchased 330 gallons of sulfuric acid. It says now, so sulfuric acid is used in reverse osmosis, like water treatment. And, apparently he's ordered it before, I guess, back in 2013. But it says that he ordered this 655-gallon drums of the chemical on January 30th, 2018, which is, I guess, the day that they raided his island, it says.
Yeah.
It says 330 gallons of sulfuric acid were purchased for the pedophiles island on the day the FBI opened its investigation into the billionaire's trafficking charges. On January 30th, he had them delivered to Little St. James. Emails in the documents dating back to 2013 suggest Epstein used sulfuric acid on the private island to purify water. RO stands for reverse osmosis, a water purification system, while sulfuric acid is widely used in water treatment, specifically to soften, adjust pH, and enhance the efficiency of other chemicals during the purification process. So I just asked Perplexity, I said, how many gallons of water can 330 gallons of sulfuric acid purify? Roughly 10 to 50 million gallons of water.
Okay, but how many gallons of water does that island use?
Fair.
There's a ton of structures, ton of different buildings. They have a pool, right? Like there's a lot of different 10 million gallons sounds like a lot of gallons of water, but go look at your water bill and how much you use. Like it adds up quickly.
Yeah, the average household uses about 50 to 100,000 gallons of water a year.
Basic regular household, not a private island.
Regular household, yes.
Yeah.
Family of 4, basic regular household, not a private island.
With multiple households.
It's pretty interesting when you give it the timing that it was the day that the FBI opened the investigation. Like somebody tipped him off, like, "Hey, this is it's go time," and you get 6 gallons or 6 55-gallon drums. Definitely pretty interesting. But again, could very well be.
There is reasonable doubt on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That he was, because the implication is that the acid was for dissolving bodies, right? That's the
correct
kind of underlying it. So there's reasonable doubt on that because of the water purification thing.
And then this will probably be the last story for the day. Actually, no, two more. We'll mention this real quick. Tragedy. At least 10 dead, including suspect in connection with shooting at British Columbia High School yesterday. It says the Tumbler Ridge Royal Canadian Mounted Police confirmed to Fox News that the officers responded to reports of an active shooter at the school at 1:20 p.m. While searching the school, officers found 6 victims dead from gunshot wounds and a person believed to be the suspect from a self-inflicted injury. Police identified a secondary location believed to be connected to the incident where 2 additional victims were found dead inside of a residence. Superintendent Ken Floyd confirmed the shooter was the same individual described in a police alert issued earlier in the day, identified as, quote, a female in a dress with brown hair. Females are notoriously not active shooters, right? It is a...
That's a dude, isn't it?
Well, this article doesn't say. There's very little information.
I saw a picture earlier this morning.
See if you can find that, because this is the second article I read this morning about this.
No, it's a trans. The whole
trans.
Yeah,
okay,
the
that
whole
was my theory.
Is that it's a trans, but
there's my theory that's confirmed.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, here we go. Got you.
All right, because I looked for it, and like it's so weird how they report like a school shooting in Canada compared to down here. Like here they'd be like, it was an AR-15 with 30 round magazines, and he had a drum that could carry 100-round magazine. Up there it's like there was a shooting, 6 people are dead, here's statements from 100 different people.
Okay, so I don't know this Nicholas Hulsher person, but we'll just watch it.
Lone wolf school shootings, and like all these different crazy crimes that were committed were actually committed by transgender people.
Most transgender individuals are taking hormone therapy, right? So they are taking synthetic hormones, which will alter their psychological profiles. Many of them are taking what's called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, as a form of antidepressant. These increase homicidal risks and basically make them want to murder at a higher rate. You have that, but then you also have surgery. So when they go get surgery, they do become self-mutilated, right? And it's irreversible. And the outcomes for these surgeries are increased mortality risks, increased suicide risks. And so, yeah, the evidence backs up why we see transgender individuals who undergo mutilation surgeries do have a very high risk of suicide, and thus, and they also take these SSRIs, they can have a high chance of going to conduct a mass shooting like we recently saw.
That guy needs to get a personality.
Yes. I mean, it's a tough topic.
MK Ultra victim.
The guy talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
well,
I mean,
confirmed though. I believe it's confirmed that he's trans. Now, it's still early days on this story, and the whole thing could change when they come out with new information. But as of right now, yeah, transy.
Well, here's another story about the degeneracy of society. Oregon man planned to kill, behead ICE agents, use separate outfits to start civil war, prosecutors allege. Raiden Tanner Coleman, 18. So that would be 2007 that this guy was born. Yeah, your dad definitely played Mortal Kombat. Raiden.
Is that a-
Hadouken!
I don't know what that.
You ever play Street Fighter?
No, I don't play video games. I'm sure that my sons know what you're talking about, though.
Well, if you search. Oh, well, maybe not. I don't know, because I searched Raiden and it didn't come up. All right, anyways. Raiden faces charges of second-degree assault and unlawful possession and manufacture a destructive device after he allegedly told acquaintances about his violent plans, bought an assault rifle, and started making Molotov cocktails. In the last month, he'd become increasingly upset about the action of ICE agents. Coleman also allegedly began to assemble an arsenal, including Molotov cocktails and an assault rifle, and tried to recruit people to join him. Two of the people he attempted to recruit would go to the police. One person allegedly said that Raiden was not himself, and he viewed his separatist group as, quote, jumping off point for a civil war. Coleman told people he intended to kill ICE agents, cut off their heads, and take the heads to Warm Springs Reservation to prove his seriousness to would-be recruits.
Incredibly specific. That's a very specific plan.
Incredibly stupid. Let me know how that works out for you.
But whenever I hear a story like that, I wonder if the undercover FBI agents that he was talking to that caught him, if it was actually their idea to begin with, because we see that a lot too, and they love going after mentally ill people and getting them to commit atrocities.
Exactly. Yep. And then the last story again. I don't know, it's hard to tell what's what. So this is from Nielsen, who is the quote unquote, authoritative source on viewership. Super Bowl 60 delivers 124.9 million viewers. Okay. So listen to this and tell me if this makes sense to you. 124.9 million viewers watched the Super Bowl. That's behind 127.7 from last year. The halftime show, however, averaged 128.2 million viewers. So according to Nielsen, 4 million more people tuned in to watch the halftime show than the actual game.
Huh?
And that's the halftime show averaged 128.2 million viewers. An estimated 124.9 million viewers watched the Super Bowl. So 3.3 million more people tuned in to watch the Super Bowl halftime show than to watch the Super Bowl itself. And this is while YouTube had 6 million streamers on the TPUSA event. Rumble had 500,000 or more. TPUSA, I'm sure, had a ton on their own platform, a couple 100,000. Doesn't make much sense to me. Then you get this post here from Samba TV, which you want it to make more sense, but it also doesn't make sense. 48.6 million U.S. households tuned into Super Bowl 60, representing a 13% decrease from last year's game. 26.5 million households watched Bad Bunny's show, representing a 39% decrease from Kendrick Lamar's 2025 show. Again, these numbers sound great, and conservative, they all want to be like, yeah, look, we really stuck it to the man. But last year, and somebody posted this, a post from them from last year, right here. This is Samba TV's post on Kendrick Lamar. 28.8 million watched Kendrick Lamar. So using their own post, 26.5, 28.8, that's 2 million people. That's not 39%. It's not even close to 39%. It's not even 10% reduction. So just a lot of misinformation on all this shit. But
ratings are as fake as polls.
I agree.
Remember, Nielsen grew to be the powerhouse that it is by putting boxes on the back of people's TVs.
Yeah.
And measuring in that way. I wonder how much and I'm probably going to look into this, how much they've adapted to the changing consumption.
They talk about it in this article. Audience estimates. Wait, where does it say? This is the first Super Bowl to be reported using Nielsen's Big Data Plus panel measurement methodology, which was officially rolled out in September 2025. Big Data
by AWS.
Big Data Plus panel provides the most accurate TV measurements to date.
Sure, pal.
BDP.
Just trust us. Pinky promise.
Yeah. It's all a joke. All right. I got fired up over the election stuff. What's up?
We have some rants.
Yes, we do. Let's get into those. I'm going to go all Bob Ross on you for the rest of the show.
Okay.
I'm painting a happy little cloud. Artsy Joan, do write-ins have to be hand counted? If so, maybe a write-in your candidate campaign should begin. Love you both. God bless.
Yeah. So if you write it in, it pushes it to adjudication, which makes a lot of people think then, oh, yay, it's being hand counted. But when your ballot goes to adjudication, somebody else gets to decide your intent. Just keep that in mind.
Thank you for the rant. Thomas
Thank
Time
you.
76 dropping in with a news tip. Not sure if you guys covered El Paso getting a 10-day TFR. Too bad they didn't the morning after DEFCON 0.
10 days of darkness.
10-day temporary flight restriction.
Yeah.
Whatever could that be
The
for?
skies over El Paso will be dark for 10 days.
Do 85. Ashe, our current AI is rebranding of smart industry and then rebranded as machine learning and now rebranded as AI. Particularly large language model is the ultimate plagiarizer. Doesn't do anything novel. Ashe 2/2. But it does make accessible a bunch of other algorithms that were already there. People just weren't aware. For example, article summarization, training, text-to-speech, etc. Agree?
100% agree. Yeah, I completely agree and really well said. The ultimate AI is the ultimate plagiarizer is perfect. Yes.
Am I getting flamed in the chat for my Bob Ross voice?
Yeah, a couple of people don't like it.
Why are you gay?
We should have gone Spanish.
I should have gone with my
Your
horrible
Spanish.
Mexican Venezuelan accent.
Your Spanish accent is a real crowd pleaser.
When you called out Christy to continue with the British accent, I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Hello, governor.
She actually did pretty good. She did pretty good.
Great. She always does great. She's the best.
All
Thumb,
right,
everybody.
guys. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Smash that thumbs up. What do we got? Wednesday, we've got DPH coming up. We've got Shipwreck before that.
General Cost of the space show.
Oh, yeah, Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah.
What is it called? Space
Force One.
Oh, Space Revolt.
Terrible. Hang on.
Space Revolution.
Space Revolution, like Dance Revolution.
Dance.
Space Revolution with Lieutenant General retired Stephen Elquas is the name of the show, and that is coming up at 6 p.m. We have Breaking History going on starting in 1 minute, and as Brian said, we have Maha Living, we have Shipwreck, we have Altered State, and of course the Devolution Power Hour happening tonight. So stay tuned to Badlands Media, and we'll see you guys later. I'll be back tomorrow on The Choice with Ghost. I don't know when you're back. When are you back?
Tomorrow morning for Badlands Daily. Wednesday is my only night where I'm all free, nothing to do. I might play some video games today. I gotta check out, man. I gotta goose fraba after I respond to these retarded lawyers on X. So see you guys later.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.